It's good day, brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy, back with Hometown Commander. We are back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the Commander in front of us on my quest out brew the Magic world. We are starting off our last week of content for OTJ, and I cannot wait. If you haven't paid attention to the spoilers, there's some pretty cool stuff, and I cannot wait to get there to brew all those up for you. And next week, if you're watching this on release day, is going to be the start of Precon Week. I'm excited about that. Those will all be coming your way. But let's rock into this episode here today, and as always, the deck list is going to be in the description below. Today we're taking a look at Shorikai, Genesis Engine, a 4-mana 8/8 legendary artifact vehicle. Now, obviously, Shorikai is not a creature, so it can't normally be your commander, but we do have a line of text that says it can be. We could pay 1, tap it to draw 2, and discard. And we make a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this crew's vehicles as though it were power 2 or greater. And Shorikai has a crew 8. At the end of the day, we're playing vehicles, a deck type that I really haven't done on the channel before, and I'm pretty excited to check this one out. Now, I will say off the bat, we're going to see Katori, who is kind of the other card from this Precon, in a few slides, and I honestly think either of them could be the commander of this deck. So if you like the idea of a deck that you could switch the commander if you wanted to, I think both of them make sense. But at the end of the day, we're playing vehicles. We're going to play these large artifacts that we need to tap creatures equal to the total power of the number listed. If you're for Shorikai, that's 8, in order to turn it into a creature to then attack that turn. We have some ways to cheat the crew cost. Obviously, we're going to do that when possible. We need to make other creatures to help crew our vehicles, or use our creatures to do it that way. And we're going to try to work towards ending the game with some one-sided effects or things like that to help us push through for the win. As far as vehicles go, there's a lot of vehicles in the deck. So what I'm going to do is kind of pick out some of the newer ones, and my favorites, the ones that I think are cool. I'm going to do about 9 of them. Believe me, there's more of them in the deck. First up is Brotherhood Vertibird. This is from the Fallout set that just came out. Its power is equal to the number of artifacts we control and its crew 2. So this is going to be a great creature to hit hard the wider the board state we go, and can definitely help us lean into starting to chip away damage at our opponents. Peace Walker Colossus, 3-mana 6/6 vehicle, crew 4, but for 1 and a white, we can give another vehicle we control the ability to be a creature until end of turn. This is a really important ability because we don't always have the ability to crew something. We can still turn it into a creature, attack with it, and get ever what effects we may have. Thunderhawk Gunship is one of my favorite vehicles as of late. When it comes in, you get 2/2/2 warrior creature tokens with vigilance, and then whenever it attacks, tagging creatures you control gain flying until end of turn. So it's going to try to put all of our creatures into the air, get around some of those pesky ground blockers, and hopefully push us through for the win. Only crew 2, so either of those 2 tokens that it can crew it. I love the Gunship, and it's also a great finisher for a lot of other decks as well. Parhelion 2, whenever it attacks, you make 2 4/4 angels that are flying and vigilance that are attacking, and it crews 4. A pretty great vehicle in its own right. Does cost a lot to put down, but you get a lot of value from it. We have the Weatherlight, a 4-mana 4/5 vehicle. It says when it deals combat damage to a player, we look at the top 5 of our library, and we can reveal a historic card from among them and put it into your hand. Remember, historic is artifacts, legendaries, or sagas. So it can either get us into more vehicles, get us into legendary creatures that we're using a lot of them for different effects, and only crew 3, which isn't too bad. Reaver Titan, a 7-mana 10/10 that has protection from mana value 3 or less. And whenever it attacks, it deals 5 damage to each opponent. Yeah, Reaver Titan costs a little bit, but I think the 5 damage is worth it, and only at crew 4. It still crews less for our commander if we're not cheating that crew cost another way. Mech Titan Core is pretty fun. It's a 2/4 vehicle for 2, but for 5 mana, we can exile it and 4 other artifact creatures or vehicles to make a 10/10 big creature token of flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink, and haste. That's all colors. And when that token leaves the battlefield, you get all of them back, except Mech Titan Core, to the battlefield tap. Kind of a fun idea. Make a big Megazord, have all of your things, and you can get them back. Prodigy's Prototype can help us make some more crewers, making pilots when we attack with 1 or more vehicles. That's pretty cool. And then the Indomitable, kind of acting as another copy of like a Binding of Thassa, allowing us to draw a card whenever our creature we control deals combat damage to a player. It can get crewed for 3, and it's 6/6 with trample. And then we can play it from our graveyard as long as we control 3 or more tap pirates or vehicles, which is pretty cool. It means we can hopefully get it back. But it's a great it's a great attacker in its own right, but it also can draw us cards when we're hitting our opponents. All right, so how are we going to cheat the crew cost, get it lower? Well, we have armed and armored. An instant that says the vehicles we control become artifact creatures till end of turn, and choose a dwarf we control, attach a number of equipment to it. We're not going to pay attention to that. We're mainly looking at the first part, turn all of our vehicles into artifact creatures till end of turn. Here's Katori, the other half of that I was talking about earlier. It says all vehicles we control have crew 2. And at the beginning of combat on our turn, target artifact creature we control gains lifelink and vigilance until end of turn. So that's kind of interesting, giving one of those vehicles lifelink and vigilance. Vigilance is important because then we could potentially crew it to block if need, but we were also going to gain the life. And then Katsumasa for 3 mana until end of turn, target non-creature artifact you control becomes an artifact creature and gains flying. If it's not a vehicle, it gets base power, toughness 1/1. So it's going to turn a vehicle into a creature and give it flying. And at the beginning of our upkeep, we put a counter on up to 3 target non-creature artifacts, basically growing our vehicles and making them hit harder in the future. All right, so how are we going to make creatures to crew? Right, at the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to. Well, we have something like Illustrious Wanderglyph, which is going to do 2 things. One, it's going to make a 1/1 gnome on everybody's turn. And then once we ascend, getting 10 permanents total, they all get +2/+2, meaning they're all crewing for 3, which is pretty cool. We have Lita, which is going to allow all other artifact creatures to untap. And that's beneficial because then we can reuse those creatures to crew more in the future. And for 4 mana, we can make another vehicle if we need another one. The Perdwin Steel Flagship from the Fallout set seems interesting. Whenever another non-token artifact ETB is under your control, create a 2/2 knight that says this creature gets +2/+2 as long as an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn, meaning that 2/2 could crew for 4 if we can fulfill those conditions. Reckoner Bankbuster draws us some cards, but it can also make a pilot once we get all the counters off of it. Thopter Spy Network says at the beginning of our upkeep, if we control an artifact, we get a 1/1 Thopter, so that Thopter can then work for crewing. Same thing with Psy, Master Thopterist. Whenever we cast an artifact spell, we can make a 1/1. And that's nice because not only do we make the crewers, but we can also sack 2 artifacts to draw. So these are just some ways to make these pilots or these creatures that can help crew our vehicles. And, some of the vehicles do have a higher crew cost, but, if we're playing with something like Katori, we can actually crew them for a lot cheaper and still take advantage of it that way. And as far as ending the game goes, I think something like Organic Extinction just seems like a really good idea. One-sided board wipe, destroy all non-artifact creatures, and then use our artifact creatures to keep crewing our vehicles. Born to Drive gives a permanent, as long as it's a creature, +1/+1 for each vehicle or creature we control. And what's cool is we can put this on a vehicle, and then when it becomes a creature, it gets this ability, or we can pitch it to make 2 pilots, so it kind of works either way. And then Unstable Glyph Bridge, another one-sided board wipe. We could get rid of everybody's creatures, but protect a lot of our vehicles because they won't be creatures, and then all we need to do is make some more creatures to crew our things. A lot of this comes down to building our board up, right? And getting in towards the end of the game, crewing our vehicles, making them hard-hitting and hard to block, and push towards the end of the game that way. But I've always said on this show that no deck is ever done. This is my first shot at the list, and there's always going to be better things we can add. And these are 3 cards I think could do to be added to the deck. For the purposes of this list, I cut them for other reasons, but I think if I was testing this deck, I would take a look at them. First up, Urza Lord High Artificer. Making a construct when it comes in, construct's going to get bigger for each artifact we control, meaning it can either crew really well in itself or just go attacking. Tapping our vehicles or any other artifacts can get us a blue mana. And then for 5 mana, we can shuffle and exile the top card and play it without paying its mana cost. Urza's got a great ability once you get a ton of mana to start playing a lot of things. Urza Prince of Krug says artifact creatures we control get +2/+2, so that's great. It's going to allow our creatures to crew for more. And then for 6 mana, we can make a token that's a copy of target artifact we control, except it's a 1/1 soldier. And this can do a lot of things. This can copy our mana rocks. This can copy our vehicles if we want to, depending on what kind of abilities they have. Just kind of an interesting a way to copy our things if that's what we want to do. And then the reality chip lets us look at the top card of our library at any time, and then as long as it's attached to a creature, we can play lands and spells off the top, which is a pretty cool ability. Again, I like all three of them. I just wasn't sure how to fit them in the list, and I think if you want to take this deck for more of a spin, I'm sure you could find something for it. But let's get into our playtest. Keeping a 3-lander here with a Reliquary Tower. I like it. We have Forensic Gadgeteer. Activate the abilities of artifacts you control cost 1 less to activate, so this will actually cut down on crew. And it can't reduce the mana in that cost less than 1 mana. Master Thopterist for some Thopters, hopefully, and then the Indomitable there for the hitting to draw cards. I like this. I think this is a good start. Let's see how it rocks. We see a Talisman of Progress, which is pretty great. At this point, I think we're guaranteed to have 2 more opponents, so we'll get that Sea of Clouds down. Turn 2, we'll get that Plains down to get the Talisman of Progress down. I think we want to just try to get close to that next turn. Next turn, we can get Shorikai down. We can get the Indomitable down. There's a lot of things we can do. Tezzeret's not bad either when it comes to reducing the crew and getting us a whole myriad of other abilities. Temple of Enlightenment. So we could skip the turn off that way and get either Sai or the Gadgeteer down if we wanted to, or we could get the Reliquary Tower down and go for Shorikai or the Indomitable. I'd kind of like to get that down here. Let's give it a scry. We see an island. I think I've got that on top, but I'd probably go Sai here. You want to start making those Thopters when we can, and then we can sacrifice 2 artifacts to draw a card. But I want to get Sai going because those are the things that are going to help us really start crewing right our vehicles. You're down, so we're at 5. We could Gadgeteer, we could Tezzeret, we could Indomitable or Shorikai. What's cool is we could Shorikai and tap it this turn, which is what I think I want to do. We will play Shorikai. That's going to make us a 1/1 Thopter from Sai. Now, the cool part about crewing vehicles for the future is crewing is an ability on the vehicle and not an ability to tap given to the creature. So we can even tap creatures that came in this turn. Of course, we can't tap Shorikai by any means. But we'll tap Shorikai, pay the extra 1 mana to draw 2, and then pitch 1. Probably Sports Strike can make us some more pilots. Manifold Key can untap Shorikai and allow us to draw more, which could be kind of interesting. We have a lot of gas. I'm just trying to figure out what I'd want to do. Forensic Gadgeteer doesn't seem bad either because we can use those clues to sack the side to draw. Man, I actually don't even know what to pitch here. I think that's a really good hand. The Manifold Key can untap Shorikai or can make something unblockable. Swift Restoration, Refiguration is a great removal spell. Download draws. Tezzeret's great. I think Gadgeteer is great. Prodigy is great. Maybe I'll pitch the Prodigy, I guess. It feels like a pretty bad, pretty bad one there to do that. And then we make a Pilot. Feels like a hard discard there, especially when you like everything in your hand. But we will tap here. Let's go one more turn. We have 6 mana now. Reality Shift's a great draw. Getting in there for a little bit of removal. I don't mind the idea of the Indomitable, but we want to try to use all 6 mana if we can. We could Forensic Gadgeteer for 3. Manifold Key for 1. Making another Thopter. Right, because we played an artifact. That's 4 mana total. We got 2 mana left. We could keep the Reality Shift up. We could tap the Shorikai again. Right, but that's right. When we play the Manifold Key, we'll also get a clue from the Manifold, from the Forensic Gadgeteer. I could see the justifiably for drawing 2 more cards and getting another Pilot, because then we're a little bit closer to crewing Shorikai in the next turn. I could see the justifiability depending on what the board state looks like to keep up Reality Shift. Let's just say the board isn't anywhere and we want to just go ahead and get Shorikai going. Sonic Screwdriver is great, can make a creature unblockable, which isn't bad. Now we run into the same problem we had last time. We're just having a lot of really good things. Maybe we pitch that Deserted Beach for now. I think we got a good amount of play as well. So we'll untap here. And this turn we should be able to crew a couple things here. Shorikai's at 8. and we would have gotten that second pilot last turn. So this is 6 total of the crew, right? Because they crew for 2 more. 7, 8. This would be enough to get Shorikai going. So we could look at prioritizing maybe the Indomitable this turn to get some of that going. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the Sonic Screwdriver. This gives me another Thopter and another Clue. And then I would probably play the Indomitable. Same thing. Another Thopter and another Clue. Is it once per turn? No, it's every time. Okay, just making sure. It's easy to forget sometimes when you look at a card effect and you go, wait, is it every time or just the first time? Okay. Then what we would do is tap those pilots, and then I would say the 2 we just brought in this turn to crew Shorikai. And then can't crew the Indomitable just because I wouldn't be able to attack. It just came in this turn. But we could potentially get 2 of these Thopters in the air and then maybe Shorikai. Just try to get it in somewhere. If someone blocks it, okay. But if not, maybe try to get it in for some damage. We used all of our mana that way. But I like this board state again. We're going to draw again. Next turn we can either crew Shorikai or tap it for its ability to get more coming. Indomitable could potentially draw some cards this turn if we hit people. And I think we're in a good state for getting our value going. Let's go one more hand. This time we're keeping a 4-lander with Blind Obedience, Mindlink Mech, and Manifold Key. Mindlink Mech is an interesting card. When it becomes crewed, for the first time each turn, until end of turn, it becomes a copy of target non-legendary creature that crewed it, which could be an interesting ability. We'll see if we can make it work. Might as well get that farmland in tapped. I mean, it comes in tapped no matter what, and there's nothing else we really want to do turn 1. I mean, we could play the Manifold Key, but I'd rather see if we can get this a little bit smoother out. Now, Cultivator's Caravan is a great card. Tapping for mana, or you can crew it into a vehicle. A very great card that kind of plays 2 roles. And here I think we would get the Blind Obedience down. This is going to force all of our opponent's artifacts and creatures to come in tapped. And we could have extorted it, or we can extort any spell we pay to everybody lose 1 and we gain 3, which is pretty cool. So if we have the extra mana, we can do that. This turn, I think we get down that Caravan, and then I can see the justification for getting down that Manifold Key just to get it ready. And now next turn we have enough mana for Shorikai. We'll draw for turn, play that Sea of Clouds, and we should have enough here for Shorikai. And then, well, let's see, we could extort it, but I think it makes more sense just to tap the Shorikai this turn for its ability, paying that 1 from the Caravan. Draw 2, pitch 1. We see a Research Thief and an Imposter Mech, and Imposter Mech comes in as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, which could be really helpful. And I'll probably get rid of 1 of these lands. I think we're good. We're good at that point. We'll go, let's go one more turn here. Urza Saga is pretty great, getting us some more value. I'd say we get down, get that moving. So it's now at a colorless. So Research Thief says whenever an artifact creature we control deals damage to a player, we draw a card. And it has flying, which could give that Mindlink Mech flying when it comes to a copy of it. Imposter Mech, again, still a copy of somebody else's thing. 6 mana, we still have the option to tap Shorikai. We don't have enough to get Shorikai crewed yet. So I think I would play that Research Thief, and I would just tap Shorikai again for its ability. 2 more, we see a Sigh and a Spire of Industry. Sigh's pretty great. It could start getting us some value. I'll pitch the Imposter Mech just for now. Let's say nobody has something we want to keep. But obviously if somebody has something really good, we'd want to do that. And we'll go one more turn. Let's get down that Ancient Den, get another counter on Urza Saga. So for 2 mana this turn, we could make a Construct, which is actually something I'd probably really want to do. The only downside is I don't have the 2 mana to do it like I'd want, like, play the Thunderhawk Gunship and do that. We could do Sigh in that, and we would then have enough to crew Shorikai this turn if we wanted to. Let's do that. Let's do Sai, and then let's tap Urza Saga for the Construct. Now the Construct right now is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So we could crew it and we could crew it and Research Thief to get Shorikai going and try to hit somebody, maybe try to draw a card off that Research Thief. Next turn, play the Thunderhawk Gunship, get the tokens, and then the turn after that, we can start giving things flying. I like this board state. I think that's pretty good to stop on. But let me know, what do you guys think of Shorikai down in the comment section below. I think Shorikai looks really cool. It's a great idea for a deck. Like I said, you could just as easily play Katori in that slot for your commander, and I think you'd be perfectly fine to play either. I think the deck still functions with either of them in the command zone. I like to draw from Shorikai for 1 mana. You give up a little bit of that cheating of the crew cost, but you get a little bit of that draw, which I think can be really good as well. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and I will catch you guys next time.